Welcome to RTF Sports Talk. It is your host, as always, Matthew Lyle, joined here by Grand Hefe the 17th and Michael Buck Nasty the 1st, the one and the only. How are we doing today, guys? Doing all right. Cold.
Man, Billy, stop saying it's cold. You're in Texas. Jeez.
Now, I did see some parts of Texas and New Mexico was getting, 2 inches of snow, but for them, that's like a blizzard anywhere else.
The world is coming
I'm
to
right
an
there
end.
on the Texas-New Mexico border, like right there. So
The world's
cold
coming
out
to an
here,
end
man.
because we got 3 inches of snow. Watch out, everybody.
Hey, they say that, but I think when you go to places like that aren't prepared, whether it be with the equipment or geographically ready for the snow, it could be ugly.
it is a God can't drive. Like soon as there's because it barely rains, maybe like 8 times a year here. Soon as a drop of rain or a drop of snow hit, Lord have mercy, just get off the road.
I do remember I went to a place in Florida. They didn't even have heaters in the hotel, and it got down to like 40 degrees. It was pretty chilly that night, but
It'd be freezing in Florida.
I see what you're saying.
Well, and one thing I think that happens, it's like a complete thought when we talk about weather. I was going one way. I had a thought. It completely left me. I don't know what happened.
I feel
Man,
like
it
I'm
was a good
calling
one,
my
too.
grandma, like, hey, how's the weather up there?
Hey. No. What I was going to say, that's the thing I like about living in Kentucky, is because we are in the perfect area. So it's a double-edged sword. When it comes to weather, when you look at all regions, when you look up north, you're talking 3-foot blizzards. When you go down southeast, you're talking hurricanes. When you go Midwest to Mike's areas, you got tornadoes. When you go out west, you got these huge wildfires or these extreme droughts. Kentucky doesn't really have any of those. We'll get a little bit of everything. We'll get some snow. We'll get some tornadoes. We'll get some really bad rain. But we don't really get one of anything. But the thing I like about snow prep is where we're close enough to get snow, but far enough not to get a lot. I would have to go and say that the area that me and Mike live in is the most over-prepped for snow area in America.
100%.
Because when they say we're going to get 3 inches of snow, which would be rough, it wouldn't be bad, we could still do stuff, they prep as if a foot's coming.
And then it's 65
I'm
and
telling you,
sunny.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad you guys stay there because out here in El Paso, there's no drainage. So literally just 2 inches of water is literally flooding the streets because there's no drainage. It just sits right there in the middle of the road. People drive like it's crazy. So El Paso is probably one of the most underprepared cities because we hardly ever get any rain. So when we do, it's a surprise.
And maybe that's the other end of that because, like you said, you're not prepared. Kentucky, the state of Kentucky, is prepared for anything. I mean, if you go to any given area in the state, if they say it's going to snow, there's enough rock salt on the road, it's like you're driving in gravel. If they say a tornado's coming, every house in every county that has any bit of land has a storm cellar, whether it be for rain, whether it be for tornadoes. And we don't get a lot, luckily, thank goodness. Definitely not compared to the Midwest. But I feel like because we get in this region a little bit of everything, we're probably the most over-prepared state for bad weather.
There we
El
go.
Paso, y'all hear that? Y'all hear that?
Step up your game.
Well, I mean, but I mean, I don't work for the state or the city or the government, so I don't know how much money we spend on this. At the other end, you got to look at taxpayers, and not to get political. If you were living in El Paso and you guys are spending, I'm just making numbers up here, $1 million a year on rock salt for snow you never get, probably going to make some people mad.
Hey, by golly, we have the $1 million worth of salt, but we don't have a truck to lay it out.
Well, we probably got the rock salt, but it never comes out until after 4 or 5 accidents has happened. So it doesn't even matter anyways.
Well, we've completely derailed the show because we're not even talking sports and weather. So I'm going to touch on that. You know what I think it is? You guys have the equipment, but you guys don't have the knowledge. So it's like anytime you do anything that you're not used to doing, you wait. It's like if you don't know how to cook, so you're trying to cook something, the only thing your brain knows is when it starts to burn, it's done. So you guys probably don't know how to prepare. So the only thing you know is, well, when people start wrecking, it's bad enough. So
yep. And that's when you see the truck come out.
So, I don't know. El Paso, that's why, look, you can say what you want about this area that we live in, the Ohio Valley, but that's the one perk, is that weather-wise, we're all a little prepared for everything. But
good job, Kentucky, for sure.
All right, guys, we do have it's really horrible that we got on that discussion because we do have a chock-full show, have a lot going on here, but we're going to dive in. We're going to we're going to go through the NFL picks. We're going to dive in every one of them. We're going to give our lovely listeners a couple of days to listen to the show, whether they're listening to it live or whether they're going to pick it up on podcast, and really get our feel for how we think the playoffs are going to go. So we're going to just hop right in here. We're going to start with Colts at the Texans. Billy, give me your takeaway.
Are we picking scores here? Or you say we are picking winners, right?
Yeah, pick winners. If you want to give a score, you can.
Okay, I just want to make sure if we was doing picks or not. Okay, so I'm going to go the Houston Texans. Houston Texans 6-2 at home. Colts is 4-4 in a row. That's a pretty mediocre team. Although they are hot, they one of the hottest teams in the NFL. I just don't trust Andrew Luck in the postseason. You know, we see this a lot from Andrew Luck in the regular season. He can put up these big time numbers, you know, but it don't really necessarily translate over to postseason success. Now I know he has 2 wins in the postseason, one against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think that game Kansas City Chiefs just let off the gas, and by the time they could turn it back on, it was already too late because the coach was already on fire. And then he beat a Cincinnati team, which everybody beat the Cincinnati Bengals. It was 0-7 in the tenure with Marvin Lewis. So for me, I want to see Andrew Luck do something in the playoffs. Last time we seen him in the playoffs, we obviously know what that was, the infamous Deflategate game, 45-7, where with regular inflated balls, Tom Brady put up way more points than he did with the deflated balls. So let me see what Andrew Luck can do again in the playoffs. I'm going to take the team at home, another team that's also trending. Give me the Texans.
And I hear everything you're selling. Like I hear everything you're saying, like over there. But you have to realize that the Colts have what 3-5. They've won like 9 games and like they've won 9 of their last 10. They beat the Texans in that run, but the Texans did beat the Colts earlier in the season. But that was when they started season 1-5. So this is 2 totally different Colts team from the first part of the season into the second part of the season. And so you have to give me the hottest team in the NFL, and that is the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, Andrew Luck has not historically performed in the playoffs very, very, very well, but Watson hasn't done well in the playoffs either. I believe the one time they made to the playoffs, they got whopped by the Kansas City Chiefs. So with all that being said, you have to go with the hottest team. The Indianapolis Colts. They're going to go into Houston and show them that they are the hottest team. It's simple as that.
Well, the Texans, Deshaun Watson was a rookie quarterback last year. I mean, so
and he was done by the end of the season.
Yeah, and it was hurt. So yeah, I mean, I get your point there. But Andrew Luck, I know the sample size. You know, he hasn't had a completion percentage over 59% in the playoffs. That's never happened. So until he shows me that he can do that, it's almost like the Patriots. People keep betting on the Patriots. Why? Because until they show me something different, I don't know what else I can do. Regardless of Brady could be hobbling on one leg, and as long as he can play, people will say, man, they got a shot. I don't know if I'm going to bet against them. You know, Nick Saban, I don't know if I can bet against him. Right now, Andrew Luck needs to show me that he can do something different.
And he will.
And I just don't know if he can, because he is prone to throwing the ball to the other team, especially in the playoff game where he could be pressing on the road. It's going to be a different atmosphere. And that Texas team is a lot better than that Kansas City team that beat them last year.
Yeah, but
I just don't see it.
At the same time, though, the last time Andrew Luck was in the playoffs, he did not have really a team that deserved to be in the playoffs. This team's a very solid team. He's been making great reads. He's been checking down. I think he's only thrown 6 interceptions in this streak that they've had. So I mean, it's very, very positive of what Andrew Luck is doing, and I think he is going to continue that trending up and just catapult them possibly into the AFC Championship game.
So a couple of devil's advocate here. To Billy's point, I don't have enough sample size, even with what Andrew Luck's given me, to make a really decision based on history. I am going to look at what this season gave us. At Houston, the Colts handled them pretty easily. When it was in Indianapolis, the Colts did lose that game, but they weren't going for the tie. I don't know if that would have made any kind of difference if they would have punted and tried to get a tie in it. My main takeaway, though, to what Mike was saying, this Colts team is a tale of two cities. They were really bad at the beginning, and in the final 10, they've been really hot. But I can't quite agree that this team's very good. Andrew Luck makes this team good.
Exactly.
These receivers are good because of Andrew Luck. The run game is available because Andrew Luck can throw to any team receiving or any of the receivers that he has. The defense is able to make stops because where Andrew Luck's putting up 20 points, you now have to put up 20 points. If Andrew Luck has one bad game, and I don't know whether it becomes here, whether it goes against the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Chargers, if you see Andrew Luck struggle, that's when you're going to see that team that lost 6-0 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think it's going to come this week. I do have the Colts beating the Texans because I don't think the Texans have the experience to get that done. Not that the Colts do either, but I don't have much faith in the Texans for some reason. But I would caution us all to say this team isn't very good. Andrew Luck's just playing out of his mind, and if at any point that ever stops, I think you see a team, especially if they get to the conference championship. If they go into Kansas City and Luck, or New England and Luck doesn't play good, don't be surprised if they don't lose by 30.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
this 1 week, I will take the Colts.
Deshaun Watson can have a bad game, and I think they can still be able to hang with the Colts. I think Lamar Miller is a capable back. To your point, Andrew Luck cannot have an off night. He cannot have an off night because so many people depend on him. That run game depends on him. If he has a bad game, we could be seeing the Colts in trouble very, very early.
You can say the same thing about Houston though too. Like if
Lamar Miller is not dependent upon Deshaun Watson though.
Yeah, but he is dependent on a good passing game. Like he is dependent on like Hopkins, doing great. And
no, Lamar Miller did good in Miami with Tannehill. I don't think he needs a perfect game from his quarterback in order to be successful.
But the front seven.
I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying he's done it before without having a great passing game. I think he can do it again against the Colts, who really that defense is makeshift. To Matthew's point earlier, that defense is able to play so good because they're able to get rest because Andrew Luck is keeping them on the field. If he's not having a good game, everybody suffers from the Colts. The defense suffers. The receivers suffer. T.Y. Hilton and Ebron and Mack, those guys suffer. I don't think that's the same case for Houston's defense. Houston's defense is going to ball. J.J. Watt is finally healthy going into the postseason. That's noteworthy because it seems like every postseason he's banged up. This season, he's healthy. That defense, I don't think they need Deshaun Watson to play exceptionally well in order to win this game.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you do not keep that Colts like if the Houston offense doesn't stay on the field, the Colts have that tailback and that short passing game to keep Houston on the field for a very long time and wear out J.J. Watt and all those other guys on that Houston team. Yes, they do have a lot of studs on that defensive side, but if you're tired, I don't care how good you are, they have to keep the Colts offense off the field to even have a chance.
All right, moving on here. We got Chargers at the Ravens. Who you got, Mike? We'll start with you.
I've got to stick with my pick earlier. I'm going with the Chargers. I just don't. I think the big stage light for Lamar Jackson is going to be a little bit too, just a little bit too big to like handle. That's why I'm going with the Chargers. And the only thing that I'm questioning here is that 1 o'clock kickoff time. For the San Diego Chargers, I believe that is 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock their time. So it's a very early kickoff. But Philip Rivers is 2-0 at 1 o'clock playoff kickoff times. So I think Philip Rivers is going to have a great game. Gordon should be back. Look for him to get 15, 20 carries, 120 yards, two scores for my FanDuel here. So definitely picking the Chargers.
Really? You know I'm picking the Chargers. The Chargers was my pick all year long. I'm going to stick with that. Baltimore has been playing good. I just do not see that what they're doing with Lamar Jackson, running the ball every single play almost. I just don't see that working, a recipe for success in the playoffs. The last time they played, I believe, week 15 or week 16, whenever it was, 22-11. I don't see Phillip Rivers going 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in this game. So,
and their tailback was also hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And Gordon was there. So for me, with Gordon back and Ingram and Mike Williams and Tyrell Williams and Gates and Ingram and Bosa, James, I don't think they let Lamar Jackson get off as he's been doing. He's going to have to make some throws from the pocket. This is the playoffs. Nothing is going to be given to you. So they're gonna put pressure on him. They're going to load the box. He's going to have to make throws. I don't think he'll be able to throws. I think the run ends here. Happy birthday on Sunday, by the way. But I think Baltimore goes home or stays home watching the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. Baltimore is good at what they do, but they're a one-trick pony on each side of the ball. They blitz on defense and run the ball on offense. Typically, that is a good recipe to have, but in today's NFL, at this stage, I don't think it's going to be enough. Philip Rivers is going to know how to read that defense. Lamar Jackson is going to have to make plays. He hasn't really made a whole lot of plays through the air in the regular season. The playoffs isn't really the place you have to start doing that. Give me the Chargers. All right, guys. Moving on over to the NFC. Cowboys or Seahawks at Cowboys. Who you got, Billy?
I got the Seahawks. That Dallas defense is good. They can get after the quarterback with Lawrence and the guys. They playing at home where they're 7-1. And unlike, where the coach was sitting, 4-4, I think the Seahawks is a better team. I just don't trust Dak Prescott. If Dak Prescott can show me that he can make throws beyond 15 yards, then, I think the Cowboys will win this game. But I don't think he's going to do that. Russell Wilson, the Seattle Seahawks, in playoff mode, Pete Carroll, these guys know how to win. They know how to go on the road and beat a team. And I think the Dallas Cowboys what are they? Are they really a good team? The defense is good. Their offense is subpar outside of Ezekiel Elliott. When Ezekiel Elliott get going, then everybody else can eat. Amari Cooper is kind of taking a step back from the 3-touchdown game, and everybody was saying, "Oh, look, Raiders, look what you gave away," type deal. I think Amari Cooper is exactly who he is, up and down receiver. I got the Seattle Seahawks for this one. I think Doug Baldwin have a monster game, maybe like 100 and something yards, a couple scores. I think the Seahawks win.
And just to add to that point there, you watch out for Tyler Lockett too. He has been leading the Seahawks the last 6-7 weeks with receiving yards and touchdowns. My man from Kansas State. So give a little love to him. But the Dallas Cowboys are going to win this game. Yes, the Seahawks beat the Cowboys earlier this season, but they played it at home, a very, very ugly game. But the Dallas Cowboys did not have Amari Cooper. Since adding Amari Cooper, the Cowboys have only lost 2 games. One game, Amari Cooper did not play in that game. So the addition of Amari Cooper allows Ezekiel Elliott to to not have to face 8 guys in the box every single play. It does not make Dak Prescott have to force the ball downfield to open up the box because the box is like already open. So like that is why the Cowboys are going to win, is because they've had the addition of Amari Cooper. Beasley is back. What's the other guy's receiver's name? Austin's back.
Gallup.
Gallup's back. So they are healthy at the right time. They are training up at the right time, and I think Amari Cooper is going to step up in this big game. Yes, he has been up and down like all season, but the times that he has been up for the Cowboys look like a Super Bowl contending team.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just can't buy into that. I mean, if you want to call Dallas hot, maybe. I mean, they did beat the Eagles and Carson Wentz last game. They got shut out by the Colts. They snuck away with one against the Buccaneers.
And very hot
stole one
Colts
against
team,
the Giants. Okay, but if you want to talk hot, other than the Colts, the Seahawks may be the next hottest team. I mean,
what they did to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Dak Prescott versus Russell Wilson. Give me Russell Wilson all day. Jason Garrett versus Pete Carroll. Give me Pete Carroll all day. I mean, unless you're going to go and lean on Zeke, I just don't trust Dak in the playoffs at all. Until we see something, until I see anything from this Cowboys team that shows that they can be a consistent postseason contender, I think. Look, it's going to be at Dallas, but I think the moment Dallas gets down at all, whether it be 7-3, 7-0, 3-0, that place is going to be so nervous because
they know
because it's just how it is with fans. Yes, this is not the same Dallas team that lost in the playoffs a couple years ago. This is the same Dallas team that couldn't get into the playoffs or became 8-8. But this is the same Dallas franchise and the same Dallas fans that think we can't get it done. Even though they talk a big game, even though they think they're Super Bowl contenders every year, they know that curse is real, that falling off happens. So I think once you see Seahawks get up, if the Seahawks get up two scores, 10-0, 14-7, or 14-3 type thing, you're going to see that's not even going to be a home field advantage anymore for Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas Seahawks start fast.
I definitely don't see the Seahawks jumping out to an early 14-point lead. That Cowboys defense is pretty solid.
I just think that I think they've overachieved.
I think that
Dallas Cowboys. Okay. Yeah, especially that. I mean, they got a good linebacker in the rookie they drafted, and they got some decent pass rushers. But when I look at overall that defense, I think they've overachieved. That looks like the type of defense that Russell Wilson is going to play conventional Russell Wilson type ball, and they're going to get caught out of position, and they're going to get flustered early. They're going to think they got it's going to be – I can imagine somewhere in the first quarter, it's going to be 3rd and 8. Russell Wilson takes the snap. You almost sack him. He rolls out, finds the Mike's guy, Tyler Lockett, wide open, 20 yards down the field, picks it up, gets the ball to about the 5, then they smash it in. I just think in the first half, Russell Wilson's going to play Russell Wilson style, and this defense is going to get frustrated because they're used to making that sack at big time. They're used to getting that big tackle for a loss. And I think Russell Wilson's going to evade them, and I think they're going to get frustrated, get caught out of position. That's one thing that the Seattle Seahawks do very well is have a small scrambling quarterback and small fast receivers that just typically find a way to get open.
I don't see the Cowboys. I don't see the Cowboys defense getting flushed with Sean Lee back at the helm. Sean Lee is that emotional leader.
He was there last game, but he didn't really do anything.
Well, he wasn't quite 100% though.
It was early in the season.
Yeah. He was already hurt.
No, it was the 3rd game of the season.
Yeah, he was already hurt.
I just think Russ is a different quarterback than a lot of quarterbacks they have faced. Even the Drew Brees that they beat, Russell Wilson escapability. That's what makes Russell Wilson so great. Not that I think, me personally, I don't think Russell Wilson is that good of a quarterback. I think he's a decent quarterback. I think he's just a gamer. But that's what makes him so tough that when you think you got him on the ground, he does that little spin out now what? And I think that's going to be the difference. Dallas defensive ends are going to have to play fundamentally sound football, or else it's going to be a long night. Russell Wilson getting out on the edge, getting 7 to 8 yards, and you're going to get mad because unlike most running quarterbacks, you're not going to hit him because he's going to slide or he's going to get out of bounds. So I think a lot of stuff is set up for the Seahawks. Obviously, they can be beat, but the Cowboys are going to have to show me. I'm just not impressed, honestly.
Just to add
and take this stat for what you will. Dallas this season has played 4 quarterbacks that you might deem as mobile, scrambling, elusive. They played the Panthers, they played the Seahawks, they played the Texans, and they played the Titans. And they are 0-4.
And
so take that for what you will.
Just to add to your guys' point, the last time the Seahawks did play the Cowboys in the playoffs, the infamous Tony Romo botched field goal to lose the game. So everything's is like weighing in the Seahawks' point here.
All right, moving on to the final NFC matchup of the weekend. We have the Bears versus the hot and fiery Eagles. So we'll start with you, Mike. Who you got?
So I've been going back and forth on this game a lot. Some shows I pick the Bears, some shows I'm picking the Eagles, but I think it's time for me to stick with the team, stick with the game, and I'm going to have to go with the Chicago Bears. They are their defense is a nasty, stingy defense, and I think the magic has the Nick Foles magic has finally ran out, I think, in Philly. It is time for him to move on to, I don't know, a Miami team or something like that. But I think the Bears pull this out. It's going to probably be a really nasty game, like 9-6 or 12-6 or something to that realm. Mitchell Trubisky is going to have an average game, maybe throw 180 yards. But he's not going to make any mistakes. He isn't going to throw a pick six. He's not going to force a ball into double coverage. That kind of thing. He is going to be a game manager like Alex Smith was for the Kansas City Chiefs for so long, and I think that is just enough to get over this Philadelphia Eagles team. That's why I'm picking the Bears.
I'm going to go to Eagles. I think the Eagles are high right now. Although Foles is coming off that rib injury, they said he's fine. Trusting these NFL teams got some of the best medication that you're ever gonna hear about. So I think Nick Foles will be just fine. The problem is that I have with the Chicago Bears is kind of the same problem that I have with the Indianapolis Colts, just opposite effect. Although I don't trust Mitchell Trubisky, that Bears team leans so much on the defense to make plays and to get everything started for them. So Mitchell Trubisky, last 4 games, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I don't think that's what you want riding going into the playoffs. I don't think that he's going to be a recipe for success. Matt Nagy puts him in really, really, really good situations where he really only have to throw the ball 2 feet in front of him. And I get it. They take their shot if Jordan Howard is running the ball pretty well. But I think People keep saying that the Foles magic is done. Well, they said that all last year into the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
true. Eventually it's going to be done. I just don't think it's this week because I think the Bears is one of these teams that although they won their division and they get a home playoff game, I think they are one of the most vulnerable teams because of quarterback play. Now this is serious quarterback play. He played good all year, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. But I just think the playoffs is a different story. These guys haven't been here. The Eagles have. There's something to be said about that. Give me the Eagles.
Just to add to your point there real fast. Just to add to the point real fast, the winner of this game will make a deep run into the playoffs. Go ahead, Matt.
Agree. Yeah. I don't know if I could ever disagree with one person more. I mean, even everything Mike says, I got to go the opposite of it. I don't know why, because I think the Eagles are going to win this game. And I think the winner of this game loses quite handily in New Orleans. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm going to say, though, is it's going to be very intriguing, this playoff. I think this is going to be the first ever playoff. I don't know if it's first ever, but I imagine it would be, that all 4 wild card teams are going to win. And that's what I'm calling it. And the reason I'm calling it is because we're seeing a very aligning of the planets.
Didn't you say the Bears were going to win
We're
this
seeing
game?
No, I said the Eagles.
Oh, okay.
I just said I couldn't disagree with you more on everything,
Oh, gotcha.
and I picked the Eagles. And
I could have swore you said the Bears.
All 4 wild card teams, never. All 4 wild card teams are going to win, and the reason is, like I said, the planets are aligning, and such that other teams are getting good. The changing of the guard is happening, but it's not complete. You've seen teams like Baltimore take it from Pittsburgh. You've seen the Bears take it from the likes of the Packers and come together and be a whole new team. You've seen the Texans finally be a solid squad. You've seen the Cowboys, even though it was a really bad division through and through, get it done where typically they kind of choked it away. But I don't think it's going to be enough to take it from the people that have been here before. The Russell Wilson, the Nick Foles. I think it was a great regular season, but I think this is where it's all going to come to a stop, and I think all the wild card teams are going to win because defense does win championships, but it takes certain kinds of defense. It takes defensive plays at the right time. I don't know if the Bears are ready to make all those plays. To Mike's point, if it's a low-scoring game, if at the 2-minute warning the Bears are up 14-9, Nick Foles going on a drive, I'm going to take that offense. And I don't know why. I could be dead wrong. Like I said, I don't think that's ever happened where all 4 wild card teams won. I just feel like this is the year. Next year, we're going to see a whole new dominance of teams. But this year, give me the wild card, give me the experience.
Before we move on to our next topic here, you keep dogging that NFC East, but we have 2 playoff teams in there, and you're picking one of them to win. So obviously that division isn't that bad that you keep making it out to B.
No, that division's horrible. I mean, Philadelphia got it together down the home stretch. Philadelphia got it together down the home stretch. Dallas stumbled their way in, and the Giants and Redskins couldn't get out of their own way.
The only reason why the Redskins are so bad is because they're on their 6th or 7th quarterback in 5 weeks. I mean, they were
and they still had a chance to make it into the playoffs right in the last 2 weeks of the season.
The fact that a month and a half ago we was talking that the Giants still mathematically had a chance and they looked horrible tells me that division's horrible. It just worked out, and it worked out in such that teams that I think you know what, Mike? To your point, the reason that in my opinion, the reason they got 2 teams is because they was so horrible. Because in every other conference, every other division, that was locked up pretty early on. Even though mathematically it may not have been, for the most part, you knew the Bears were winning that. You knew that the Rams was winning that division. You knew the Saints was winning that division. So other teams got discouraged. You've seen teams like the Vikings kind of fall apart down the stretch. Luckily, the Seahawks had experience and was able to get that done. But the fact that the only reason I think the Eagles were in it is because it took Dallas so long to clinch it that Philadelphia never got discouraged, and they were able to stumble their way in it.
I think I would take the NFC East versus the Bears and the Packers division any day of the week.
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, let's just line this up. Bears. Give me the Bears over the Cowboys.
No.
Give
Cowboys.
me the Vikings. Vikings and Eagles are probably going to be a push. I mean, I probably take the Eagles over that. But then Packers over Redskins. Give me the Packers.
A healthy
Lions
Redskins
over the
team.
Giants,
A healthy Redskins team.
Give me a healthy Aaron Rodgers. It don't matter. Look, the Redskins fans just lucked out because I was saying this early in the season. The Redskins are not a team to believe in. The Redskins are not a good team. The only thing that saved them from an embarrassing letdown was injury, because that letdown was coming. At least now, Redskins fans have something to sleep on, knowing that we were on our quarterback.
I have to disagree with you. Alex Smith is a guy that doesn't lose games for you. Yes, he does not win a lot of games for you, but he doesn't lose games either. So they were in the position to be a 10 win team. Maybe even 11 wins.
I think I'm betting. No, not at all. I mean, that's the worst division. All right, let's move on a little bit. Well, one little stat I do have, and I want to know. I'm going to just read these numbers to you. And I want to tell you if there's any importance. As we just talked about the conversion from regular season to playoff, these are the playoff teams records versus other playoff teams. The Chiefs are 2-4. The Patriots are 4-0. The Texans are 2-2. The Ravens are 1-2. The Chargers are 2-3. The Colts are 2-3. In the NFC, the Saints are 3-1. The Rams are 4-3. The Chargers are 2-1. The Cowboys are 3-3. The Seahawks are 2-4, and the Eagles are 3-3. Do those numbers mean anything? And if so, does any number jump out to you and be like, oh wow, that means something?
I'm just gonna say right off the bat, I think those numbers are spot on. You had the Cowboys, 3-3. That's mediocre. That's about who they are. But yeah, it's something to be said. Look at where Bill Belichick and Tom Brady is at every single year against playoff teams. It just seems like they perform. We want to embarrass anybody who thinks we're gonna kill this chance or your thoughts that, man, we can maybe hang with them in the playoffs. Let's just nick that in the bud right away. It means something, but it means something. I wouldn't go too overboard for it because we see teams change in the playoffs, but it does mean something how you stack up against other good teams, because they're trying to win those games as well. So, yeah, I think it means something. I wouldn't read a lot into it, but I think it means something.
Yeah.
Mike, what's your thought?
I don't think it means much of anything. It just means that you've had you've had a chance to play these teams. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs; they are 2-4, and the Patriots are 4-0. But I think we all have the Chiefs beating the Patriots, except for Matthew, going forward into the Super Bowl, and the Patriots handily beat the Chiefs earlier this season. I say handily, it was just a few points, but it was it was a very lopsided game. So I don't think it means much of anything, because the playoffs is just it is just a different atmosphere. It is win or go home, and when if a team is on the ropes, you see a different mindset on these teams once the playoffs hit. So those stats really mean a lot of nothing at the end of the day.
Well, ironically, the only example you made there is the only one that I'm buying. When you have long-term success, like the Patriots, like you see the Warriors over the last 4 or 5 years, when the only thing that means anything to you is holding up that trophy, nothing else really matters. What that tells me is, and I have another stat that I have to look back up, I can tell you guys later, that the teams that have beat New England, what they have done after beating New England has been horrible. So it's like New England goes into games where you think they're important as the opponent, and they're like, we're not going to get up to this. Jacksonville, you think it's beating us as you're off Super Bowl? We could care less. Titans, you guys have ex-Patriots players. This means something to you? We could care less. Miami, you view us as big brother. We could care less. But then when the games mean something, the Chiefs, we might see you in the playoffs. This means something. The Bears, we could see you in the Super Bowl. We better watch this out. The Texans, I know it's early on in the season, so I'm going to kind of throw that one out as literally game one. But I think when you see teams that are so used to success, that number to me is very telling. The fact that when teams beat the Patriots, they pretty much fall apart in the regular season because that's their Super Bowl. And when it becomes potential Super Bowl teams for the Patriots are there and ready to play.
There we go. That's that. Did we lose you guys?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I'm going to ask you just a real quick question. I just need one answer. Don't need an explanation. The regular season's over. Pretty soon they're going to start handing out the awards. I'm just going to ask for awards. Just give me the player. Don't need a breakdown of why. We're going to start with Mike. We're going to rotate back and forth. Mike, MVP.
Patrick Mahomes.
Billy.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes.
I got to echo that. AFC Offensive Player of the Year. Billy.
Jeez. Well, if I'm going to go MVP, Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to go. He got to be Offensive Player of the Year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mike.
I kind of got to say the same thing, but Philip too. But Patrick Mahomes.
NFC Offensive Player of the Year. Mike.
I don't know. Billy. You go ahead.
I'm going to go Drew Brees. I think up until maybe week 15 or week 16, Drew Brees was still in that MVP conversation. I know he's probably still in there for a lot of people as well. But I'm gonna go Drew Brees. Mike,
I like Saquon Barkley for the Giants.
It's impressive. I got to go Brees too. I just think the numbers he's put up, and Barkley, I think he gets that kind of that you're a freshman, know your place. I mean, as a rookie. So let's go that way. In the entire NFL, Mike, who's your offensive rookie of the year?
Baker Mayfield from last show, but also Philip, what's his face? The Broncos tailback did really good this year too.
Now, see, on that's a good story, but I don't think, his numbers don't compare to Baker Mayfield or Saquon Barkley or anything like that. Billy.
True.
Rookie of the year.
I'm gonna go Baker Rookie of the Year. Just the season he's had, I think his play on the field, I think he deserved it.
Yeah, I have to too. I mean, it's just defensive Rookie of the Year, Billy.
Derwin James. I've been saying that all year. I mean, you could give it to so many people, and I said yesterday, there's been so many rookies and everybody just playing so well. This was a really good rookie class. Really outside of the quarterbacks. But I'm gonna go Derwin James. Mike,
I'm gonna go with Van Der Esch from the Cowboys.
I'm gonna go Darius Leonard from the Colts. I mean, I think he's by far leading all the rookies in all the defensive categories. So, all right, move on real quick. I don't know how much we got on this one, but I don't know what your all's opinion. We kind of talked on this last night. The NFL Hall of Fame 2019 finalists came out. To recap, it's Tony Gonzalez, Isaac Bruce, Adrian James, Ed Reed, Steve Atwater, Champ Bailey, Kyle Law, John Lynch, Tony Baselli, Steve Hutchinson, Alan Faneca, Kevin Malley, Richard Seymour, Don Coyle, and Tom Flores. Any of those to your what names of those are surefire getting?
Ed Reed for sure. Champ Bailey, I think, gets in for sure. John Lynch, I think, for sure gets in. Tony Gonzalez is another one that I think gets in. There's few that I'm on the cups of. Of course, I think Steve Atwater is probably going to be another one that gets in. But I'm wondering, and before you pick Mike, and I just want to pose a question to both of you guys before you pick yours, Mike. Does Adrian James get in?
Yes. I mean, I don't know if this one, but
that's the one I was kind of back and forth on.
I don't think he performed.
Perception is. What do you mean? He's a top 10 running back of all time, number wise. I mean, look at the yardage, the touchdowns. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think this class. I think he may not get in this round because of this class. But yeah, I think ultimately, he does get in, which is the reason why I think they need to get rid of this first, second, third ballot Hall of Fame. What's the difference? If you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. I think that's what they really need to get rid of. This first and second and third ballot Hall of Famer. Is this guy good enough to be in the Hall of Fame? Yes or no? At the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. Because when he's wearing a gold jacket, nobody says, "Oh, well, yeah, third ballot Hall of Famer, second ballot Hall of Famer." No, you say he's a Hall of Famer. You say a Hall of Famer. XXX, whatever his name is, So for me, get rid of this first and second ballot crap. It's just a way for these voters to hate on guys that they really don't like and don't put them in and make them wait. Get rid of the first and second crap.
So,
Mike, who's some surefire guys for you?
Some surefire has got to be Tony G. I loved watching him as a Kansas City Chief as my younger days. Just him versus Shannon Sharp. A lot of those games, very, very great to watch. I believe he was a 14-time Pro Bowler. There should be no reason why he is not a sure-in. Isaac Brooks had a fantastic career with the with the St. Louis Rams. I think he is a for sure in. Ed Reed is for sure in as well. And then it kind of starts to taper off a little bit. I really like John Lynch, but just because I like him, it doesn't mean I don't think he's going to get in.
Don't do that, Mike.
I don't think he is going to get in. I do think Richard Seymour gets in though. So I think
to
those
Billy's
like my four.
point, to Billy's point, I think the reason you have the first ballot, second ballot is because I think they try to keep these guys in your mind. Because let's take someone like a Richard Seymour. The rule is you got to be retired for 5 years before you're eligible. Well, if you typically don't make it in that first or second try, new names come out every year.
Mm-hmm.
So if last year, if you were sitting out, and then this year you're like, oh, it's my try, and then you see the names like Ed Reed first time, Champ Bailey first time, you kind of see yourself start being pushed back. And typically, what they vote in, and I don't know if this is done on purpose, but typically you see 3 or 4 new guys, a mid-tier guy, and then I feel like they throw a bone to some of these older people, like the people that retired back in the 60s, and they're like, you've waited long enough, we're going to let you in. I feel like that's typically been the way it goes. I don't know enough about some of these older coaches. I do think the guys that you've named, Champ Bailey, Ed Reed, I do think Edge gets in. I don't know when. I mean, 12,000 rushing yards and 80 touchdowns is top 15 in both categories. I think eventually he gets in. I don't think he gets in this year. One question I'm going to position to you guys before we move on. Tony Gonzalez is obviously in the way he leads all tight end numbers. But after you get past him, when you look at some of these other tight ends that's been in the league, the last 30 years, decent number tight end numbers 10 years ago and tight end numbers today are two completely different things. After you get past Tony Gonzalez, when you look at retired tight ends, do any other tight ends really stand a chance to get in? For example, Tony Gonzalez it took Tony Gonzalez a while to break his receiving yard. He held on to it for a while. Gronk broke it, and then a couple seasons later, Kelsey broke it, and then literally 15 minutes later, Kittle broke it. After you get past Gonzalez, the way that the league has changed and these tight ends are putting up these crazy numbers, do you think any of the veteran tight ends that are retired today get in other than Gonzalez?
Yeah, because I think it goes to what you just said right now. They always throw in those old guys. Eventually they'll get in. Maybe not right now. Maybe, especially as you just said, some of these guys think that they're going to get in, and then you see Ed Reed first time, so you know for sure that guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, so his name is going to be up there. I think that's how it's going to be with the tight ends. You're going to see once these guys, Kelsey and Gronk and all these guys retire, you're going to see these guys' numbers, and it's going to like, how can you keep these guys out at the tight end position? So I think eventually they will get in, just not right away.
Yeah.
Mike, any thought on it?
Like, I think like you always have that older generation of fans that that like watch these players as as kids and college students. So I think that is how they will eventually find themselves into the Hall of Fame. It's because of people like us, because very, very few people know how great Tony G was back in the day when he was with Kansas City. Most of these people just only remember him as a Atlanta Falcon for those 3 or 4 years. So that's why they get in it. It's because of older people such as, just like me and you and whoever else. So that's how they ultimately get in.
Right, and just for the people listening who's thinking, how big could the difference be? Ozzie Newsome is a Pro Football Hall of Fame tight end. He got in as a tight end before he did some great things as a general manager. In 198 games, he had 662 catches, 7,900 yards, and 47 touchdowns. To show you how that changed, Gronkowski in 102 games, 96 less games, has 474 catches, 71 yards, and 76 touchdowns. I mean, which Gronk's a fossil by this point, the way his body's holding up. But in theory, if Gronk was to play 5 more seasons, like he has been, he's doubling those numbers.
I just think Gronk is the best tight end ever played. Honestly, just me personally, I think Gronk is the best tight end ever played the game.
I do agree.
Even you think you think his numbers? I mean, to compare, and
numbers. I don't really care about. I'm just talking about when you turn on the tape and you
the
say,
eye test.
Would you rather healthy? Would you rather face a Gronkowski, or would you rather face a Tony Gonzalez? And that's taking nothing away from Tony Gonzalez. This guy was everything for those Kansas City Chiefs teams back in the day, you know. But when I look at Gronkowski when he was healthy, who's stopping him? Honestly, 6'7",
personal fouls,
6'7", 270-some pounds, can high point the football just like the top receivers, can run any route on the route tree, can block, loves to block. Yeah, I just don't know if there's any tight end that I've ever seen that resembles what Gronkowski is. Gronkowski is a receiver. You know, and I know Kelsey plays. He kind of plays that role too. But Kelsey sometimes
he doesn't like to block,
even when he's healthy. Yeah, and even when he's healthy, sometimes he's not in the game. Gronkowski, when he's healthy, this guy is an absolute monster. So I just think I don't see nobody better than Gronk at that tight end position.
Is a Gronk fan? No argument here. All right, let's hop over. Let's hop over to some hardwoods. We got some NBA action. James Harden, man, is balling. What's our takes on it? I mean, he obviously chokes in the playoffs. The team has skyrocketed since they quit the Carmelo Anthony experience, which we're not going to get into that to save Billy's blood pressure. Is he a top 5 scorer of all time? What is he? Tell me, guys. Mike, let's start with you.
James Harden, a top 5 scorer of all time.
Like not point wise, but like when you think somebody who just has the ability to score whenever, wherever.
Oh,
yeah. Would you put him up there? I mean, the points may eventually get there if he plays long enough, but
I mean, as of right now, no, I would not put him in the top 5. Like, I feel he is in the top 10. If you are in the current NBA, I think he is in the top 10. But if it's I need a bucket, you are my guy. I have 5 guys to choose from. James Harden is not one of those guys.
Billy, what's your thoughts on it?
I don't know. This is a tough one for me because I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say no because some of the ways James Harden gets his points. You know, all the flailing and all that other stuff, I think he gets helped out by the ref a lot. This guy shoots about 15 free throws a game. That's a ton of points, you know, at the free throw line. But just gifted. I mean, this guy, we're talking about 6'7", can handle the rock like no other, can shoot it, can get to the cup, can shoot the three, can shoot the mid-range, crafty around the rim. I think he's definitely in the discussion for top 5 of all time, but there's been some absolute killers on the offensive side of the ball in the NBA. So I don't know if I could put him in the discussion of top 5, but I think he's hanging out at the same hotel as Matthew Lyle would say. I don't think he's in the room yet. I just think he's standing outside waiting on a cart to put his bags on.
So you are saying he is in there in at the all time or just in the current NBA?
Just all time. I mean, the guys that we say are all time good. The Kobe was a volume shooter. I mean, let's not overblow how good Kobe shooting percentages and stuff was. He was a volume shooter that wasn't scared to take the big shot. You know, I think people get that confused and clutch and all that other stuff. And willing to take the shot is different from actually, you know, doing it. Another guy, Jordan is probably the best scorer. I would say just what he was able to do. But I think James Harden is definitely in that discussion. I mean, look at what this guy's doing. This guy's had 7 40-point triple doubles this year, and that came in like an 8-game span.
Well, that's also helps when you shoot 33s a game, though, too, right?
Yeah, I get that, but James Harden is a pretty efficient shooter. Now, we're not talking about playoff James Harden. Playoff James Harden is not an efficient scorer because the referees don't allow that. But just pure talent of an offensive weapon, oh, yeah. If I need a bucket, I may not call on James Harden, but I guarantee you he's on the bench, you know, of can he get to the rim? Can he get his own shot? That step back is lethal, whether he's traveling or not. They let him get away with it. So
I think James Harden is in the discussion. He's not top 5. No, but I think he's in the discussion.
Literally, we talked about it with the tight ends, and I'm not going to take anything away from it because life changes for everybody. I'm sure if you go back to the 50s, if you had a 3-point line then, you would have some darn good scorers. But does he benefit from a different era? I mean, let's face it. He has the cheat code to draw a foul. I mean, he knows what to do. And I guess Jordan did too back in the day. But I mean,
Kevin Durant does it now.
Yeah,
Kevin Durant does it now.
A lot of guys do it now. Yeah, a lot of guys do it now. But I don't know if I've ever seen, like you said, they let him get away with it, and they got a much looser term of the word travel. He has the footwork that he walks that line for literally and figuratively of travel. I mean, how much do you think he benefits from that? Like if he was in the 90s,
a lot.
Call that
travel. A lot. Yeah, I think he benefits from getting 3 to 4 steps a lot. Which is the reason why I can't necessarily put him in the top 5, but I can't get away from what I actually see. Him doing night in and night out. That's tough to do.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. So let's just moving on here. Let's just say that all these NBA teams were stuck. Obviously, the Golden State Warriors is Apple. They're lined up out the door. If you were going to go bet on a team, you were going to invest into a team that wasn't the Golden State Warriors to get the job done in the NBA tournament or the NBA playoffs, who are you betting on? Mike, I'm going to start with you.
You know what? I'm liking the Portland Trailblazers. They are a fly under the radar type of team like all season. I believe they've beaten Golden State already once this year. They've beaten the top teams. They've beaten the Utah Jazz as well. And I believe they're sitting at the 4 or 5 seed as well. So, I mean, they are that middle of the run team, and if they get hot at the right time, they can definitely make some noise. So, Portland Trailblazers, the fly under the radar team, buy into that stock.
So I don't know. Before we can go ahead, I'm sorry, but I was just going to
say,
go ahead. I get what you're saying, and I mean, in the regular season, the only reason with the NBA that's such a tough pill to swallow is the way the playoffs are set up. It doesn't really allow for a hot at the right time team to win the playoffs.
Yep.
I mean, because you might get hot for a round or two, but when you got to win 16 before you lose, Before you lose 16 or 4 in the given round?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I guess technically before you lose 12 because if you've lost 4 at any time. Anyway, it just doesn't lend itself to getting hot at the right time. The Warriors, the Trailblazers could go all the way to the 1 seed, but then you would need them to win 16 games in a month and a half time span, and that's always really tough. I think it's a nice, bold pick. It just the NBA doesn't lend itself to those great stories. Billy, who are we going with? It's not the Warriors.
I would say the Lakers and LeBron James. It's LeBron, but I'm going to go the Boston Celtics. I mean, you look at that team, how deep they are. Kyrie Irving, Terry Rozier, Smart, Tatum, Brown, Hayward is looking like he's starting to round out into form. Horford, I just think that team is so, they're so deep that it's going to be tough for any team to beat them. I don't have them winning, but this is a scary, scary, scary team, to be facing a team that can throw 2 to 3 different lineups at you. And every lineup they have starters in there. So for me, I just think the Boston Celtics is one of those teams outside of Golden State that I'm like, yeah, this team could be their NBA Finals champ.
That's a good pick.
Yeah, so I have to agree with you. If something was to happen to the Warriors, I think if the Warriors get to the finals again, nobody's stopping them. But I think if the Boston Celtics can get there and the Warriors trip up somewhere, I like their odds. I think, yeah, I like that. All right, just real quick, Billy, we're going to start with you. One team that the NBA is giving love to that you are not buying.
The 76ers. I'm just not a fan.
I'm going to go with the Denver Nuggets. They are, I believe they are top in the West right now, but they're kind of benefiting from an easy schedule so far this season.
It's a good pick, Mike.
So, Denver and the Nuggets on.
I like it. The NBA always gives you that one team that finds itself in the top 4, but they're a joke. All right, we're going to hop on over here. This is probably what we're going to do. We'll get derailed once again, but it's okay because I think people love when we talk this. Give me some recaps of the bowl season. Not the college football season, just the bowl 2 weeks in December. Mike, let's start with you.
So we kind of alluded to this on yesterday's show, but I mean, like, just the bowl season as a whole, it is highly overrated. The first 2 weeks, the 15th through the Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, even the bowls really don't matter. I am not saying circling the FIU versus Louisiana Tech games that I got to sit down and watch this game. No, I'm not. I'm sitting down. I'm looking at the Poinsettia Bowl. I'm looking at the Capital One Bowl. You know, those are the bowl games that I want to watch. Give me 8-win teams in the postseason. I do not want to see a losing team in the postseason. And yes, I know you have to have six wins, and you play 12 games in a regular season, and that makes you 6-6. But when you lose that postseason game, that makes you 6-7 on the season. So you are a losing team. Get those teams out of there. Bump it up to 8 wins. I believe back in the 90s it was 7 wins, if I'm not mistaken. But like then they kind of lowered it down to all these mediocre teams. Get that out of here. I don't want to see it. Give me 2 weeks of bowl season, but give me 2 weeks of, teams that I want to enjoy to watch. Michigan State, Oregon State, UCF. Give me those feel-good stories. I don't want to watch Louisiana Tech. Get that crap out of here.
So let me, before we get to Billy, let me position this way though. Let me pull on some heartstrings that we discussed last night on another show. What about for the program? I mean, Kentucky this year won their 10th game, and it's big. And by your recent criteria that you just gave, that we would have made a bowl either way. But let's go back to the last 2 years when we made the Music City Bowl and the whatever bowl before that, where they were big for it, but we were 7-5. Those bowls were huge for our program. Those bowls may be the reason we're at 10 wins now. And I'm sure that every program, all the way down to your Louisiana Lafayette and your Florida Internationals, could make the same case. I mean, shoot, I'd have to go back and look at the history, but that might have been what started this UCF quote-unquote dynasty. They were 6-6, whatever, and they got going. I don't know. I have to go through the history of it. You would be, by doing what you suggested, you would be robbing all of those fan bases' development. Now, obviously, you, as a Kentucky, Kansas State, big-time team fan, aren't interested in FIU versus this team or a 6-6 Georgia Tech. But for those programs, it means a lot. So I know it bores you, but is it really hurting anything to have more bowls? Is it really? I think it's enriching, giving more practices, giving more games, giving better matchups that we would normally not see. I mean, I don't know when you'd ever see Kentucky versus Penn State in the regular season.
It is.
Is it fair to say that it's not hurting anything?
It is hurting it because you are watering it down. There are 110 teams, if I'm not mistaken, that make it to a postseason game. Well, no, that make it to it. There's 70.
Well, or 70. There might be 80. I think there's 40 bowls.
Okay, so there's 80 teams that make it to a postseason game. That is so watered down. Mm-hmm. So you are a mediocre team making it to a postseason game. Why? As a mediocre team, you don't deserve to be there, and the TV stats don't lie. Like I went over this yesterday. From Christmas Day on, those bowl games were averaging almost 12 million viewers per game. The games before Christmas Day up to the 15th weren't even breaking 1 million viewers. So that shows you that the people don't care. The America doesn't care. Yes, those small schools may help them in the long run, but as a NCAA, you are trying to make cash, and putting a 6-6 FIU team in a Dollar General Save Always Bowl, it doesn't help you as a organization. You want to make money, keep those teams that are 8 wins plus, expand the playoff to 8 teams, and win-win.
Well, right there, you said something very interesting, and I think that's the key to this. And I got another comparison for you. The NCAA has nothing to do with it. When's the last time you turned on a bowl and said, seen the NCAA points at a bowl? Or if you look, the NCAA doesn't touch. They benefit from having the team, but the NCAA has no say in the college football playoff. The NCAA has no say in the
They're still making money off of it.
I think that's one thing that lends itself. I mean, by proxy they are, but they make most of their money from college basketball. So with that being said, if 80 teams is too much for college football, then is the 100-and-something teams that make a postseason in college basketball too much too?
Yeah. I think you should.
I mean, fair enough. I mean,
I think you need to keep it down to. I think you need to keep it down to 64 teams. Because honestly, those four playing games that we have, it's kind of stupid like at that point. And I do see why they have the NIT. It is basically to keep the NCAA in check. Because if you guys remember way back when, the NIT used to be the tournament to make, not the NCAA tournament. So yeah, like I do feel like 800 teams is a little bit of an overkill in the college basketball ranks too.
See, this is my last point, and I'll let Billy get in here. I don't think you can overkill. I don't think you can water it down, because what you do then is you create wealth. You spread out the wealth and the economy of college football. Let's say me and Billy are 3-star recruits. We're not your Alabama kids. We're not your 8-win team kids. We're your 3-star, your 2-star recruits. Well, typically we're going to go to a Kentucky, a Tennessee, a Vanderbilt. But then we turn on TV, and you know who else is getting love? Western Kentucky, Florida International, FAU, FIU, all these other schools. And I say, hey, I don't have to go ride the pine at Vanderbilt or a Kansas team or a big-name program to have success. I can go to these smaller schools because guess what? I'm going to get on TV. I'm going to get to play in a bowl game. I'm going to get to advertise myself. We're in Billy's decent players. Now we're going to mid-level schools.
How can you advertise yourself? And how can you advertise yourself if there's only 800,000 people watching that like the game versus 19.6 million people watching it?
Let me ask you this: Would you rather have 800,000 people watching you play, or 12 million watching you sit on the bench?
It just depends on where.
Billy, let's go with you.
I think the bowl season as a whole, yeah, I think we probably could get away from it. To your point, yeah, it does help the programs, but I don't think fans really enjoy it. You know, the numbers do speak volume. In the big games, more guys are watching, and I think a lot of these bowl games, you know, while we see all of these players sitting out, it's because to the players it don't really mean anything. You know, if instead of going to play with my team and winning, possibly getting whatever, these guys don't even get the gifts and stuff of these bowl games. It's like they don't even care. Whatever, man. I'm just going to sit out. I'm going to get ready for something more important rather than play in a meaningless bowl game. That's not my words. That's the way that the players think. Obviously, that's why we keep having players sit out of these bowl games. So I think if we get rid of a lot of these terrible bowl games, you know, the DXL Frisco and the bad boy Moas Gasparilla. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares to watch FIU in Toledo. Nobody cares to watch San Diego State in Ohio. Nobody cares to even watch Hawaii and Louisiana Tech. I don't care. Army and Houston, get them out of here. I don't really care. Although Army did have a good season record-wise and they deserve to be there. But I'm just saying, nobody wants to see those games. The players don't even want to play in those games. That's why they get ready for the draft process. But I can see why they have them, because it's getting the program exposure, and that's the problem. And that's why we have all these TV deals now. They got to put somebody on TV, you know. So, yeah, I can get it from both sides. My personal view, I think we need to cut down on bowl games.
Well, let me position this then, because this is what I was thinking when I was watching. Because we were talking about this, and when I was watching Georgia versus Texas, I was thinking this: where's your answer? Because to your all's point, if we did everything you guys said, if you look at the people who sit out, most of them don't really come from those mediocre boats.
Most of the guys sitting out for the NFL doesn't come from your 6-6 It's your 9-3, your 10-2 team. So, would you rather get rid of the entertaining Middle Tennessee State versus Western Michigan 56-52, or would you rather watch your Florida versus a depleted Michigan that turns into 41-17? Neither. So my question is exactly. But that's the thing. You're not going to get rid of all the both. You're not going to cut that down.
Neither. But I would rather watch Florida.
Yeah, I would still rather watch a Florida and Michigan missing some stars rather than guys. I don't even know who they are. I probably haven't watched no games of them this year. I don't really care for them. That's why you only see 800,000 people watching it compared to 12 million and 9 million and 7 million and 2 million because nobody cares about those bowl games.
So maybe that's it. Maybe I'm different. Maybe I like to see the guy. I like to pick the guy. I like when in 2012, I watched FIU a lot. Don't ask why, but I enjoyed it because it was on. I saw a guy out there putting up crazy numbers. Nobody ever talked about him. That guy today is T.Y. Hill. I enjoy watching that guy come from pretty much rise from the ashes and be that next great person in the NFL. The guy from San Diego State, who, yes, I mean, he broke a lot of records, but not many people talked about him, the Perry kid. I like watching now as a Seahawks. I think that's fun to me. So maybe I'm the outlier on this. Maybe I'm the guy that I love. I always take off the last 2 weeks of the year for work. No matter where I'm working, I make sure that's a thing. Even if I have to quit a job, I'll do it. I love just sitting down and watching it. So the fact that by 2020, there's going to be, I think, 100 bowls, I'm excited as can be. But clearly, based on this, the three-person discussion and to Mike's numbers, 800,000 viewers plus to 12 million, maybe I'm just the minority in this. And
I'm just saying, so
I don't know,
so they want to have a...
Even when...
Go ahead, Billy.
Even when these guys sit out, the Michigan guys, you're still seeing 4 or 5-star athletes. You know, these guys just have to sit on the bench. It's even though they are sitting out, yeah, but we're still getting quality teams. Now, the team that we might think is going to win the game probably don't win the game because they haven't guys sit out. But they're still good athletes that's playing in place of these guys. You know. Rather than me just seeing a bunch of nobodies and just one good person. Yeah, I don't care to see that.
Okay. I mean, I would rather watch 2 FCS teams play 70 to, what was that one game at the beginning of the season? It was 98-91. I would rather watch that than Bama beat a team beat Clemson. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but Bama beat Clemson 56-0. I don't know. But anyway, we had me and Billy had a very heated discussion at the beginning of the season. The season, for the most part, is wrapped up. We got one game, and I think it's the best in teams in the country. Now, after everything's said and done, Billy, let's start with you. Rank your 5 Power 5 conferences.
I'm going to go to Big 10. I'm going to go after that. I guess I'm going to have to put the SEC there just because of Alabama. But then after that, I'm going to go the Big 12, Pac-12, ACC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get back to you on that there. I just want to know my thoughts.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I think the Big Ten as a whole is the best conference, top two bottom. And then I'm going to go with the Big 12, and then the SEC, and then the ACC, and then the Pac-12.
Okay, so we're going to start with the less controversial one, I think. Why did you pick the ACC over the Pac-12? I mean, neither have been glorious, but the ACC just gave Clemson. At least Washington State was a top 15 team. Washington was in there doing some things. Utah was respectable. What in your mind, Mike, made you pick ACC over that?
I'm looking at postseason history, like historically, the Pac-12 isn't very well, but you have to add
we're talking 2018.
But you have to add in the postseason, and Pac-12 was not very good in the postseason. I think the SEC got more wins than the Pac-12, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure like on that, but that's why I did that. It's because of the postseason numbers at the end, and a lot of us don't get a chance to watch the Pac-12, so we don't really know how good Washington State was or Washington, because I'm not staying up till 2:00 in the morning to watch them play.
Okay, Billy, what's your thoughts on anything you said or thoughts on what he said?
Yeah, I can kind of agree there. I just know how bad the ACC is as a whole, even this year. So, yeah, I mean, I could have flipped the two. I think we're kind of almost splitting hairs, ACC, Pac-12. When you think of the grand scheme of things, top to bottom, I think these guys in the ACC can compete with these guys in the Pac-12. Now, they had a better season. But yeah, I mean, and then the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten is top to bottom. As Mike said, I think Big Ten top to bottom is the best conference in college football. That the teams that they have, even with Michigan losing to Florida, I still think not having the two-time All-American and a two-time Big Ten Player of the Year, Rashawn Gary, defensive lineman, who's probably going to be a top 20, 25 pick in the NFL draft. They was missing Higdon, 200-something carries this year. You can't replace that in one game. So I still think the Big Ten, top to bottom, is probably the best team. And the SEC, I said it all year, outside of Alabama, they can be beat. I think Alabama is the only team in that conference that when you look at it matched up against anybody in the country, you're going to probably give the nod to Alabama. And I think after that, it's debatable. It drops off. Even with Georgia, it drops off. So
it showed.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question, and to steal both of y'all's points. I just want to know y'all's thoughts on this. I'm gonna steal Mike's point that you have to take postseason play into consideration. So if you look Big Ten, and while I'm saying this, think of my next question: should we get rid of the conference-specific bowls, the bids that come with those throughout? If we're gonna have 80 bowls, should we get rid of the conference size? Because look what you got. I mean, you got Florida State. Florida and walloped a Michigan team. Yes, they were out there for starters. We'll talk about that. Kentucky outplayed a Penn State. They let Penn State get back in, and props to number 9 for balling out and coming back. Whatever was wrong with his injury. I mean, Auburn beat Purdue 63-14. The only Big Ten team to beat an SEC school was Iowa, who won by 2 against Mississippi State. Michigan State laid a goose egg up in Oregon or against Oregon. The only Big Ten team that really looked impressive in a bowl was Ohio State, and that kind of surprised me because I thought they'd be so disappointed by missing the playoffs that they would go out and kind of pull an Oregon or a Michigan or a Georgia or Michigan. The fact that they actually played and got a win against, to Mike's point, the Pac-12. Why are we not taking that if Mike said the postseason matters, why are we not taking the postseason into consideration when it comes to that?
Are you asking me that?
Anybody.
So
I'm gonna let you go first, Mike.
I am still taking the Big Ten postseason into consideration, but to rank those bottom 2 teams or those bottom 2 leagues, I think the SEC is better in the postseason than the Pac-12. So that's why I took postseason into consideration for those bottom 2. Now, to your point, you also have to see who the Big Ten played in those postseason. They played a lot of top ranked teams because they were so good this season that they got into those higher bowls. And so like if you're playing from December 24th on, you are usually in a pretty good game. Like against pretty good competition, so that is why they are the best conference. Is because they proved it in the regular season, and yes they did not 100% perform in the postseason. They were still there.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, but to that point, Bill and Mike, I mean, if you're ranking prestigious bowls, I would say the SEC won that. I mean, you had. Well, wouldn't you? I mean, if you look at New Year's Sixes, the Big Ten had 2, the SEC had 3.
Yeah, but that was rankings, and a lot of us don't really think that those rankings was really real. I don't think Florida was the number 10 team in the country. I don't think LSU was the number 11 team team in the country. I don't think Kentucky was the number 14 team in the country. So I think the bowls is skewed because of what you said earlier about certain conferences have to go to these bowl games. So, I mean, I think that's what we get at. The SEC is 6-4 in bowl games, and the Big Ten is 5-4, and they don't get to keep playing. You know, so yeah, I mean, and LSU, they played a UCF team that none of us thought probably even should have been there. You know, that's a dud. I think also Florida getting a Michigan team that didn't care if they was there. That's why the 8, 9, 10 guys side out in that game. So I mean, that's 2 other bowl games right there. Potentially, had LSU played, I think a Power 5 school and not just UCF, which was one of the group of 5, I think we would have had a different game there. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a little skewed, but I still think top to bottom, Big Ten, fully healthy, against any fully healthy school, SEC, whatever. I think they top to bottom. I think they have the best conference.
Okay, fair enough. Let's ask another question here. Let's just say LSU didn't get the job done. Let's just say LSU didn't save us from the horrible standard that the NCAA set by the NCAA granting. The only thing the NCAA has done in college football has granted UCF their national title. If LSU hadn't got the job done and ended that madness, would they have gotten back-to-back national titles? Because what did they do this year that they didn't do last year? I know the NCAA is probably the NCAA is probably betting, hey, this is a great story, it'll never happen again. But had it happened again, the precedent has said you're going to award them a national title. Do you think that would have happened? Mike, we'll start with you.
I want to say no because I just think it was like a flash in the pan. Just kind of pat them on the back. Yeah, you guys had a great season. Sorry, the committee didn't love you guys as much as the other teams, but I definitely don't think it would have happened again. Simply because you can't really do it twice.
The president was said, you go undefeated, we're going to give you a title. I mean, that's the precedent that they set.
I think they would have given him another title. I think they would have given him another title. You know, you beat the LSU team a year after beating the Auburn team, after going undefeated and losing your quarterback. If they did it last year, what's stopping them from doing it again this year?
So at that point, I mean, what mess are we in? Because if that's the case, if you're back-to-back national titles, then if you're UCF, you don't do anything. You don't leave that conference. You don't schedule anybody. You just say, hey, we're going to go 14-0 and keep giving us these national titles.
I don't even think anybody cares, though. You know, I don't even know if most of the people even know that they have a quote-unquote national title. So, yeah, I don't know, you know, but, yeah, I think for sure had they beat LSU, I most definitely think they would have got quote-unquote claimed national championship. National champions again.
I feel like we're back in the 1990s, like
right back in the day,
like when there's co-national champions and all that crap.
And I think that's the concern, Billy, is, and I'm glad this got stopped. Is I mean, sports fans know this happened, and I guess in the world of sports, my mom doesn't know who Alabama is, so I guess it's all the same. But sports fans are aware that UCF did that. But what happens if we didn't tamper that? And the NCAA, what happened if Ohio State loses the first game of the season, goes undefeated, wins the Big Ten, and sits at, say, the 5 seed, and then they go out there and dominate their bowl game? Do they have a right at calling the NCAA and say, hey, we should have a national title? I'm just saying, I don't know how that would happen. So let's just say when it's all said and done, even Alabama has one loss and whatever, and Ohio State's like, give me my national title. I just think it does, to Mike's point, becomes the 1960s all over again, where in 1963 there was 8 national titles. I don't know.
I mean, I can see where they were coming from with the national championship thing, because I think they felt over a one-loss team, we're undefeated, and you guys are not putting me in because my name doesn't say Alabama. Whereas if you lose a game, I don't think, you will still have that same, that same credence to say that with a loss. Especially UCF felt like they got shafted last year. They felt like they was one of the 4 best teams. They went out and they beat a team that people said that they wouldn't be in a conference that said that they would get overpowered in, and they won. So I think they was like, shoving it in your face, like we're undefeated and we beat the mighty SEC, crown us our national championship. Although I don't agree with it because I don't agree with more victories. You didn't get voted in. You're not national champion. But I can see why they did it.
I just think, do you think 80 bowls is a slippery slope? Now the playoffs did get rid of it, but there was a time before bowls were assigned to champions when just one play, like when Kentucky beat Oklahoma. Kentucky had one loss. Oklahoma was undefeated. We played them in the Sugar Bowl in 1950. Kentucky beat that Oklahoma. Kentucky said we're champions. And somebody said, we agree. Now, somebody also said we think Oklahoma's champions because they still rank higher. But I think it becomes a wild, wild west, and then everybody's got championship rings. So
sure.
let's peep right in here real quick. Top 5 for 2019. Don't have to be in any certain order. Just who do you think the top 5 teams will be? Billy, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go Alabama. I'm going to go Clemson. I think Georgia, with the recruiting class that they brought back in, I think they'll be right there at 3. 4 and 5 is a tad bit dicey to me because you don't know what Ohio State is bringing back now that Urban Meyer is stepping down and Ryan Day is taking over. So in that 4th spot, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Michigan. They're returning a lot of people. Jim Harbaugh obviously is returning, and that 5 spot to me is kind of up in the air. Who would get it? So I'm going to leave 5 blank for right now until I hear somebody else.
All right, Mike, what about you?
I'm going to go Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, and then this is where it gets weird for like me. I'm going to have to go with Georgia, and then probably it's got to be Ohio State, I think.
Mike, you think Michigan will be higher than Georgia?
Yeah, that I do.
Well, I think when the official ones come out, I mean, I'm going to, because I like to Billy's point, I don't know who all is returning, especially with Ohio State changes. I mean, Texas A&M is going to have a claim once those classes start kicking in. I don't know when that'll be. But when I think of what I think the voters will say, I think the voters, the media, the coaches poll, the polls that they release is going to have Alabama number 1, so I think Alabama's going to win the title. They're going to have Clemson number 2 because, well, shoot, I think Alabama's going to give Clemson one of the best games. I think the hype's going to give Georgia number 3. I think Ohio State at 4 just because they always get – even recruits, even if Haskins leaves, the media is going to give them, hey, you went out, you won the Rose Bowl, we're going to put you here at 4. And I think at number 5, you're going to get LSU. And I don't agree with it, but I'm just telling you what I think what they're going to do.
ACC
and
love.
The way that, yeah, I mean, they're going to give it to them. I would almost say Florida because I think Florida returns a lot of people, but I don't know whether they're going to have them ending and then to have them just jump up into the top 5. I don't think so. But there's always that one team that in the beginning, last year was Auburn,
Florida State,
that the committee or that the voters always say, this team's a top 5 SEC team because of their conference and the logo on the side of their helmet. I think this year LSU gets that love. So that's what I think. When the AP drops their preseason top 25s in, 6-8 months, I think those will be the 5 teams you see.
That'd be a horrible jump if LSU jumps from 11 into the college football play. I mean, into the top 5. I mean, that'd be a travesty. Honestly, that LSU team is not a good football team. It's just not.
I agree, but
I agree to your point. The people will try to put them in there.
And you're saying 11. That's because the last official rankings. A lot of the unofficial rankings that Phil Steele and Paul Feinbaum and some of those guys have turned out have LSU being anywhere between 6 and 8.
Well, I don't even listen to Paul Firebaum. He's so SEC biased. It's crazy to me. But yeah, I just don't think.
Wouldn't you be? Wouldn't you be if SEC paid your paycheck? I mean, I'm just saying, the SEC paid your paycheck and they allowed you.
I tell the truth. That's what I do. I don't think he tells the truth. I think his views are a tad bit jaded because, to your point, because the SEC pays his paycheck, so you can't blame him in that sense. But hey, I want you to do something for me if you ever get some time, just on YouTube. Not even Paul Feinbaum. Look at Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman 5-6 years ago.
They are not as hot takey, as yell at the top of my lungs as they are today. The reason they are today, and Mike's been preaching this since day one we started doing these podcasts, people love it. And when ESPN said, hey, maybe you should really hate LeBron and you should yell really loud about it, and Max, maybe you should really hate Tom Brady and yell really loud about it, guess what they're going to do? Maybe he don't like Tom Brady, but if ESPN, the people who write his paycheck, says you should like him a little less and like him a little and dislike him a little louder, guess what? He's going to be a little less likey and a lot more louder. And I think that's what happened with Paul Feinbaum. Yes, I think he's pro SEC all the way, but when the SEC network said, we need you to really like the SEC, I think when, say LSU versus Michigan, say they're tied neck and neck, since you work for the SEC network, you're going to give the SEC that bump. I mean, I just think that's what, when those paychecks start getting up in the seven figures, you get pretty passionate about some things you otherwise wouldn't get passionate about.
I think you got a good point on that one.
I'm just saying, look, I'm a huge UK fan, and I hate Louisville with a passion. But since I live in Louisville, if U of L said we'll give you $7 million or $5 million or shit, if they give me $100,000 a year, L1C4. That's all I can say. I'm just saying. I would still be.
I agree with that point. I agree with that point.
I would be a Kentucky fan at heart, and I would hate Louisville with a passion. But man, when I was on that radio station, I'd find a way to make it work.
All right, good point.
All right, we've had a loaded show. We'll probably need to break this down to several other shows. Anybody got any final takes before we head out of here?
I'm not going to bore y'all again today. I'm lying. Go nose.
You got anything? I think Mike fell asleep.
No, I'm good. I'm just sitting back here, Rawson.
All right.
We actually did pretty good in the Under Armour All-American game yesterday. The recruits that we had. So go nose.
All right, let him have his go nose. I'm gonna throw a go big blue in here because we had a fun ride in football. We're starting to heat up right time in basketball. I'll ride the wave. Mike's go big blue too. I'll take it from him. All right, guys, thank you for joining RTF. Probably this is the world's longest show we've ever had. But thanks for tuning in. Catch us next time.
Go Chiefs. Got it.
I knew it.